Hi, this is CK at CK Education, and today I want to talk about SAT math for a second. A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about SAT math. There's a lot of pre-calc on it, for example, people say, or I've done really well in school in math, so I should be able to just crush the math section on the SAT, people say. And, things like this. And these just aren't true, okay? First of all, just because you did well in math in school doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do really well on the SAT math section. You're just not. It's a different game. It's a different game. You have to, it's a different kind of setup, different kind of analysis. I can't go into all the details, but I mean, it's a different game. Okay, so you have to prepare for the SAT math in a little bit different way. Secondly, people say that, well, SAT math includes a lot of I haven't taken pre-calculus yet, and so I guess I'm not going to do very well in the SAT math. Or I have students say, I haven't taken pre-calculus yet, so maybe I shouldn't even start studying for the SAT math. And again, this is a misnomer. SAT math is actually not very high level. It really isn't. It doesn't cover very difficult, sophisticated, advanced subject matter like calculus or pre-calc. Now, some people say, no, there is pre-calc on it. Very, very low basic pre-calc. I mean, very, very. So it just touches on a lot of different topics in a very shallow way. It doesn't really go in depth into any one thing. Like even with geometry, it doesn't go into depth into geometry. It just very basic geometry. It doesn't go in depth into, the quadratic functions. Just very shallow. It doesn't go into a lot of depth into circles. You got to know some very shallow things really well about circles, though. It doesn't go into a lot of depth with parabolic functions, but you have to know the basics of parabolic functions. I mean, it's shallow. It covers a lot of ground, but it's pretty shallow and is a lot lower level than people think. And so even if you haven't taken pre-calculus, it's okay. You can still start SAT prep and do well in the math section. I've told many students over the years, whatever pre-calc you need to know, I can teach you in 15 minutes for the SAT. So it's not a big deal. But what's surprising to more students is that a lot of the SAT math relies on basic concepts that you learned actually years ago. When I say years ago, I mean sometimes 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, things that you learned back then. Even in grammar, people say, man, I haven't heard of this grammar rule for 5 years. I remember this from middle school. I said, yeah, and it's coming back to haunt you on the SAT. And this is what happens. So SAT math isn't high level, but that doesn't mean it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. The level is fairly low, but it's not easy because it covers a lot of ground, it's pretty shallow, and it's very tricky. And if you don't know what to look for, if you don't know how to analyze it correctly and set it up correctly, you can do a problem, and it can take you a very long time. But on the other hand, if you did it the correct way, maybe not the correct way, but if you do it a certain way, it takes you 10 seconds to do it, So this is SAT math. And so I just wanted to clarify, it's not required that you have high-level math, that you have had taken high-level math in high school in order to begin prepping for SAT math or even, do well in the SAT math section. So just wanted to clear that up. I'm CK at CK Education. Thanks again for watching, and until my next video, I hope you stay well.